Hi, everybody. Dorothy here, professional astrologer. You can find me right here, nhastrologer.com. Today, I'm going to talk about the week of the 19th, October 19th. Now, we have a lot of things going on this week. Of course, the sun enters the sign of Scorpio on Thursday. But before that, he's finishing up in the sign of Libra. And that's the sign of the new moon, right? And it was just, at this recording, it hasn't even happened yet. And so we have to remember that that main focus is on finding that equilibrium and that balance. So on Friday the 16th and into this week that we're talking about now, the 19th and on, that waxing lunar phase is wanting us to increase the things that we're doing. And again, that main focus was the equilibrium, partnerships, relationships. Are you doing enough for yourself? Are you helping those that you want to help? Is there enough time for that? So all of these things are very important. We're also looking at the balance and the imbalance in the world around us. It really is very much out of balance. Typical in an election year, but very atypical considering all the other things that we have going on. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that. But these are some of the things that we are looking at and we're focusing on for this week. The first aspect I want to cover is the one on Monday evening, and it's really late in the evening, 10:53 p.m. Eastern time zone, and that's the second connection between Mercury in Scorpio and Uranus in the sign of Taurus. So now Mercury's retrograde. The last time it was in an opposition to Uranus was October 7th, and it was in a direct motion. I do believe October 7th was quite an eventful day in the world, right? It was. The Vise Presidential debates. Now, that wasn't overly Mercury-Uranus energy, for sure. And there wasn't a lot of, I don't know, it was a pretty lackluster debate, with the exception of a fly. But needless to say, that wasn't the big news. The big news was just the day before that, the president said he would stop the negotiations for a new stimulus plan. And what happened with that, I'm sure he's been, and he said he will start it up right after he wins the election. And so that is Mercury in Scorpio. So that tends to be saying what we're thinking, bringing that to the surface. And that opposite, that Uranian energy, Uranus and Taurus, has a lot to do with the stock market investments. It's not to per se the stock market, but it's financial investments. And so by him saying the words he said, created a sudden drop in the stock market. I mean, it's worked its way back up through reconsiderations, etc. But we could just see that in the world around us. So that's what was going on back on October 7th. So what can we anticipate now? It's just something else, because Uranus is never reliable. The only thing it's reliable for is that it is going to, throw us some curveballs and create sudden changes so we can stay on our toes, because growth doesn't happen when you're stuck. And so Mercury retrograde in Scorpio can bring up a multitude of things. It can bring up the deep pain and hurt that we need to come to the surface. That's that personal thing. We can be triggered by the world around us and watching what's going on, and that can trigger, fear and manipulation and being out of control as children or as young people. But now we're needing to work through this. We're needing to process this. This is a very painful, it's just not, it's not easy. None of these things are easy. And if you are in a place where you need some psychological help, then you get professional help. Mercury in Scorpio, especially in its retrograde, is definitely about those things that are really hidden. And again, if we're triggered by somebody that we don't even know, but it's something that we're watching or reading on TV or whatever, then we've got something we need to work on. So that's how we take what's happening out in the world and make it more personal. Find a way to do your own work. And you can do it, Scorpio type work, as well as deep meditation, guided meditation, shamanic work, dream work. Spend some time with these things so you're able to get some breakthrough. Mercury opposite Uranus. And that's how this whole week is, right? Those are a lot of the big things that we have going on this week. We also have the sun entering the sign of Scorpio on the 22nd, Thursday, the 22nd. It'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And so that's going to add to the mix, because now for the next whole month until November 21st, the sun in Scorpio, this is again that time of year where things are, in the Northern Hemisphere, we're in the deep of the fall. Things are releasing, the trees are dropping their leaves, things are getting cold, things are starting to rot and decay. It is the end of the cycle for us here in the Northern Hemisphere. And so that means this is the end of the cycle for all of us. So it's time to look at that Scorpio section of your chart. Depending on what house system you use, it might be fully contained in one house or kind of half in one house and half in another. But look at where that is for you. And that's the area of life this time of year that you always have some of that deep work to do, that deep internalized work to do. So with the sun in Scorpio, it's going to be beginning that whole process. And again, we're still in that waxing lunar phase. We're only 4 or 5 days into the new moon. So we do have that. Now, a bonus is all week long, Venus, Mother Goddess, in her Virgo. She's in Virgo, a very earthy, very grounded, beautiful energy. This is what helps us stay anchored. She's in a trine aspect to Jupiter first, and then to Pluto, and then to Saturn. That's throughout this week. And if you're part of my Patreon group, we'll go over that in detail. So if you don't know what that is, if you're watching here on YouTube, the link is below in the the text area of the YouTube. And sometimes up in here, I have the links that pop out throughout the video. So click on Patreon and go check that out. And I do a live broadcast once a week out there for members. And we go deeper into what I'm talking about here. So, but this is your free content because you get to have that too. So, because I always want to stay in touch with everybody no matter what. All right. So the blessing is with Venus in Virgo, trining all three of them all three of the Capricorn planets right now, that helps us to, become more grounded, is that trine. Just stay more grounded into ourselves and do the things that are grounding for you. All right. Gives us this opportunity, even though there's a lot of turmoil going on in the world. All right. And the final thing I wanted to talk about is that Mercury and the sun now are conjunct, and that happens regularly, but they're actually also by declination. So that means where they are out in the sky, up and down. And so they're in the same place in the zodiac and by declination. And they won't do that again for a long time. I'm not a specialist on that type of astrology. That's quite a specialty, but I love watching the declinations, because what it means is we have this connection between the two, Cazimi, the sun and Mercury. Mercury goes across the face of the sun, and so it's like the sun is like burning off what is no longer needed and creating a whole new pattern and cycle. So I'm more of an expert on the lunar cycles as opposed to Mercury cycle, but I'm a Gemini. I should be, I know, but sometimes we just follow the path that leads us, right? Maybe someday. Gary Canton is fabulous on his Mercury work, so you can check him out too. But the point is, it's like on Sunday, with this conjunction, it doesn't happen again until I think like December 19th, and they're in Sagittarius by then, and they're not at the same declination when they're at the same zodiac sign. So the point is, this is really deep, intense. This is why Scorpio time of year right now, before this election and after this election, there is so much, coming to the surface. And again, if it's triggering you, this is your opportunity to finally grow beyond that, get the help you need, find your support, and move into a more loving and grounded place, because that's what that Venus and Virgo trining these Capricorn planets is asking us to do. So there's always more, but that's it for now. So please join me here. Please join me on Patreon. And this is my profession. So if you'd like to connect with me personally, I always have open times within a couple of weeks of you watching this. So thank you very much. Please Don't forget to comment, like, and share. Thank you very much. Blessings. See you next time.